Combos and fighting games go hand in hand. You land a hit, and you've got some time to do a few inputs strung together, usually involving regular attack buttons and special moves, and before you know it, you've done a decent chunk of damage. Now that may perhaps be oversimplifying it, but generally, being able to do significant damage when the right opportunity presents itself is a great way to change the tide of a match in any fighting game out there. Now, as the title of this video suggests, some characters can do more damage than others. Sometimes it's under extremely specific circumstances, and other times it is legitimate high damage that a character can obtain in a realistic situation. The ability to win the round on a single touch is usually reserved for unintentional infinites, and we made a video a long time ago about infinite combos in Mortal Kombat, but that's not what we're looking at today. Instead, we're going to look over Mortal Kombat characters that can land a single hit and obtain true 100% damage acknowledged by the game itself, going through the various titles and picking specific characters that can do just that. And trust me when I say, there are more characters than you'd expect that can get combos like this. My name is Ketchup, and these are 5 characters in Mortal Kombat that can win the round on a single touch. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe? Maybe even join my Patreon, or leave a comment about what kind of countdown video you'd like to see next. Before we get into our list, I want to give some dishonorable mentions, because man, this stuff is mad cheap. You would fairly assume that I'm going to cover Mortal Kombat 9 in this video, but actually, I won't be. Cyrax, Smoke, and Jax can all land 100% combos in this game, and it is one of the more commonly known examples of characters with high damage. But it's utilizing multiple combos in one, and therefore does not qualify for what I'm mentioning in this video. The game has to recognize it as a true 100%, and the ground pound with Jax, the smoke bomb with Smoke, and the Cyrax bomb resets all involve guaranteeing multiple combos together to create a 100% sequence. I know there's an argument for maybe I should have listed them anyway, but mentioning them now frees up video space for other characters you may not have expected. We begin our journey with the very first Mortal Kombat released in 1992. And I'm already going to cheat a little bit here because it isn't just one character. It's like half the cast. The original Mortal Kombat was really interesting because characters had severely higher damage than most people remember. The reason you may not remember this, or perhaps you haven't even seen it, is because this damage was tied to the first few revisions of the arcade version. And for those that don't know what a revision is, kind of consider it like a patch before patches existed. It was all done using new versions of the game that would get put into the arcade machines. In revisions 2 and 3, which were commonly available in the arcades back when the game was new, combos worked differently regarding jump punches, and the height they send an opponent if they get hit by one. Characters with a good jump punch can loop a few of these mid-screen, and especially more of them in the corner, where true 100% damage combos can exist. And in a game with no breakers, I mean, that mechanic wouldn't be seen until basically a decade later, it means that one hit could mean the end of the round. Whether it's from an air-to-air, an anti-air, or even a corner uppercut, really the choice is yours. Johnny Cage, Raiden, and Kano had nice and easy ones. But there were various options for various characters. The only issue is that these combos would be heavily toned down in later revisions, where if you try to do any of these now, it's likely that you won't be able to, unless you have the exact earlier versions of the game. Now this is one hell of a way to start off this list because 100% combos have existed since the very beginning, and I just wanted to show you that. It wouldn't take long for these kind of combos to make their return, and in vanilla Mortal Kombat 3, Cyrax isn't even the only character with 100% damage. Sub-Zero is the best character in the game because of his huge freeze combos, but I've talked about him a bunch in the past. Instead, let's show you that even though MK9 Cyrax didn't qualify for the list, his very first version does for pretty much the exact same reason, just years before. Cyrax in vanilla Mortal Kombat 3 had bomb loops. His bombs would launch incredibly high, and it would have the same hit animation every time. Now, if you set this up properly, you can constantly knock the opponent into more bombs, needing only a couple of loops to secure round-winning damage. Because this pretty much didn't scale. Cyrax had similar combos in Ultimate MK3, but they were significantly different to how the bombs can be comboed and how they can even be set up. But Vanilla MK3 makes the list because, much like in 1992, the early revision of MK3 allowed Cyrax to start this sequence off a net, meaning a single net would lead to a round-winning combo that is truly guaranteed and is definitely a 100% combo. You wanna know what's funny though? This isn't even the only touch of death that Cyrax had in this version. Cyrax's normal throw in the corner would also lead to a 100% combo. And this was because in Vanilla MK3, corner roundhouse didn't knock the opponent back. So you could use it in combos and, as you can see, damn! A character known for crazy combos and high damage, it all started with this game. For our next entry, we simply move forward a few months into Ultimate MK3, where here, it's time for Reptile. Reptile in Ultimate MK3 is my favourite version of this character, period. Sick combos, awesome and satisfying to play, super fast, and just fits the game perfectly. However, for those more talented with the character than I am, he also has the highest damage in the game by a significant margin. It's just really hard to do. The 100% combo damage Reptile has is tied to Force Ball and his dash. Combining these with surgical timing versus most hurtboxes in the game allows Reptile to keep you suspended in the air just long enough to deal 100% damage combos. As long as that Force Ball connects, Reptile can start this sequence. So if you get hit during zoning, if you get anti-aired into a Force Ball, or you just get straight up launched up close, you could lose the entire round, regardless of how much health you have. It is definitely one of the hardest combos in Mortal Kombat, and is absolutely the most challenging combo in this list. I never had the execution to pull this off properly, but my friend Biggs was always able to do it at a moment's notice. I have no idea how he does it. However, it is self-explanatory and it works exactly as you see it here, and that is why Reptile in Ultimate MK3 made it into today's list. Up next, it's Mortal Kombat Deception, and who else but the main protagonist, Shujinko. Deception is full to the brim with infinites and glitchy free throws and other things that can become 100% damage, but not necessarily indicated by the game itself. One such character that does indeed have combos that start at 0 and finish at 100% and beyond is Shujinko, the master who can take the fighting styles of other warriors, and trust me, that's needed for this. The reason he is a somewhat stranger entry in today's list is because the damage he can do is entirely tied to how many moves you've unlocked for him in the Conquest mode. On his own, without any special moves, Shujinko does have respectable damage. He's got decent juggle potential just from his launchers, and strings that can continue juggles in the air. A major factor to Shujinko is that he has multiple stance branches that are very hard to do, but have massive air juggles. It is when you unlock Li Mei's flip kick that things start to get out of hand, even more so if you've unlocked Ermac's lift. Now again, I don't have the execution to pull off his death combos, but thankfully Check, the 3D combo god, who I always suggest people subscribe to, has plenty of Shujinko combos on his YouTube channel that showcase the sheer power of a high execution Shujinko. These juggles are very hard to get perfect, and you will eventually hit the edge of the stage, which you would think ends things. But by that point, in many cases, Shujinko has already won because some of his combos far exceed the 100% threshold. I find this entry really interesting because no one expects Shujinko to have this kind of damage. But he's not only one of the hardest hitting characters in 3D MK, possibly the hardest, but he's one of the hardest hitting characters in Mortal Kombat's entire history. And finally, for today's list, we go a bit more modern. Which is kind of strange to say, as Mortal Kombat X is 10 years old this year, but either way, it's Blood God Kotal Khan. Variations in MKX made a huge difference to playstyles, and Blood God Kotal could summon totems that increase damage, reduce damage or chip, or heal him after a certain point. The only totem we focus on for this video is the damage amplifier, because this is how the character gets some of the highest damage in the entire game. This is because Kotal, as a base, has 2 moves that already increase his damage output to begin with, the Blood Sacrifice and the Meter Burn Mace Parry. Kotal's corner damage is already high thanks to Meter Burn Disc. A standard 2-bar combo does over 50% damage. This exact same combo, but using the damage totem first, does 68% damage. Should you have the totem active and Blood Sacrifice, this combo does over 80% damage. You'll notice we're getting more and more thanks to the different damage buffs. If you have Totem, Sacrifice, and a single Meter Burn Mace Parry, this combo does 96% damage. Now we're out of meter, and you'd think that's where it ends. But nope! If you have all of the buffs active and you perform 2 Mace Parries, a much smaller combo will do over 100% damage because the disc does well over half the opponent's life on its own. To be fair, Blood God would rarely get the damage to this point because you needed so much to set it up. But any combination of the damage buffs will do superb damage, especially in the corner, and it was always funny seeing life bars just get absolutely deleted. Kotal Khan, played this way, was extremely fun to watch. And that's today's list on characters that can do 100% damage and beyond. Thank you for watching, stick around for plenty more Mortal Kombat where that came from, and I will see you next time.